Welcome or welcome back to Gaming for some more Generation Zero. Now I know the game is over and the final update was pushed out at the back end of January, but there's still plenty more to be done. And today we're going to look at the most overpowered weapon in GZ. No, it's not the PVG, but it is an experimental weapon and it was recently added to the loot pool. This is the HP5. Now, bear with me. I know a lot of people may think of that. That's not OP at all. The PVG is the best, or the AG4 is the best. But no. Trust me. This weapon is insane. Purely because of how accurate it can be. It doesn't matter what ammunition you're using, or what caliber of weapon you've got. If you're getting more shots on point, then the DPS is going to be much higher. Now, I don't know how to measure DPS in Generation Zero. It would be cool if there was something or some form of overlay that could do that. But judging by just time it takes to take enemies down. So let's jump in and have a look at the HP5. Now, this is the experimental HP5. Now, not much is different about this as opposed to the normal HP5, apart from this little thing here. Now, what this is basically a tracker. So your ammunition has a heat-seeking effect. Now, that heat-seeking effect is incredible. It works from a relatively good distance of around about 40 meters. So you do have to get relatively close to the machines for this to actually kick in and work. But it is fun and works absolute wonders when you've got it on target. It's great for targeting the machine components, but as you can see here on the right hand side, damage is not that high. Handling extremely high and rate of fire is also extremely high. It's chambered in 9mm FMJ or the armor piercing rounds. 9mm, something that's readily available and can be looted from all machines, which is great news, unlike some of the other ammunition types that are now out there due to the crafting changes. But as you can see, you've got things like the experimental AK with much higher damage, a similar handling but a lower rate of fire. PVG, obviously the best damage overall, and as well as the Shocksvist and the experimental GRG. So there's some pretty big players in the experimental weapons, but the HP5's shines so well. Now, when using the HP5, the best way to get the best out of it is to use it with some form of attachment or scope, because just aiming can be a bit of a pain in the arse. But as you can see there, we lock onto that old boy, absolute miles away, and destroy it pretty much instantly. Didn't even take 15 rounds there. And this is the Seekers, so obviously it's going to be relatively easy to take them down. Seekers are not exactly the hardest of machines. But when it comes to something like a tank, you can lock onto that main weapon, unload one round of simple FMJ, let that magazine loose. Once you've shot 1-2 magazines, bish bash bosh, that component just comes straight off. All you got to do is aim again. You're locked onto that component. You don't have to aim at all. And as you can see, the components come off really easily. The only downside to the HP5 is the tracking system itself. If you do track onto the wrong thing at first, it's going to be a bit of a pain to get it round. But that there, purely because of the accuracy, took 6 rounds to take down this Phoenix tank's combustible tank, well, the fuel cell. And then the tick pod as well has gone in just a matter of rounds. This thing can be done in just a few magazines. That's using FMJ. When you up the ante a little bit and you start to use armor piercing, that's when things get a little bit more fun. Now, even against the little machines, like the runners, they just work so well. Target the fuel cell on the back, you just pop off a few rounds, and bish bash bosh, these things go down like a sack of shite. You don't even have to get all too close to them. As long as you stay within the range, you can move away, and as you can see, the timer there slowly starts to go down. But as long as you are locked on and you can see that timer, you don't even have to be looking at the machine. It still does it. Every shot you hit on target also recharges the timer and the lock that is on it. The only way that you really remove it is to let it run down or simply by aiming somewhere else. Now, it is worth noting, if you do want to use it as a normal weapon, you can just start shooting at the target and it will just fire in a straight line. Obviously, as you can see, I am missing a lot of targets because of the spread that you do get. The handling's great on it, but it still has a little bit of spread over distance. But still, if you do want to use it as just a normal weapon, as well, and in between using the heat seeker function, you can. Doesn't really make much difference at all. Still works the same as the normal HP5. Now here we've got some armor-piercing rounds, and we're going to take on a tank. So first things first, we need to target one of the weapons. I'm pretty sure this is a special tank with a railgun. Oh no, it's not. So 20 rounds that took there to take off the main rocket pod. I think I probably would have got that a little bit easier there if I hadn't stopped to aim. Like I say, the only downside is the aiming part. If you catch the wrong component, it can be a right pain in the arse to get it up and running again. Oh. Now, if you have got things in the way, like other machines, the legs and stuff like that, it does make a slight effort to go around it, but it isn't the greatest. The pathing for the rounds is a little bit finicky. So, like, as we can see, let me just lock onto him here. So we're locked onto him there. Now, if I go behind this here, it will start to hit the fence. But as you can see, some rounds make it through. I'm not too sure why or how that works. But yeah, it's a bit odd. But it works. It still just works wonders. And like I say, you could be running away. You don't have to be near the guys. That took less than a minute to take him down. So these guys are fast. And the rounds you get downrange as well are insane. When you've got an extended mag on it, you've got some better stuff like the compensator. It works absolute wonders. Once you've got it fully kitted out, and you can also put the augments on this weapon as well if you'd like to. Obviously, that depends on your preference. I don't really use the augments. I never have. Well, they weren't in the original game, and I do try and still keep it sort of down to what it used to be as much as possible. Yes, the experimental weapons are a little bit out there, but they are fun to use. Now, another reason as to why this weapon is so overpowered is because Firebirds. Pretty much the best and the worst enemy all in the entire game. The tanks are the OGs. These things, though, they put out so much pain, and they're just assholes. But, as you can see, this one is a rival, so this one will put up more of a fight anyway, but let's see what we can do with it. So, locking on with the Firebirds, I think, is definitely the hardest part, because obviously they're up in the sky, they're a distance away. When you're trying to lock onto components, that does make it very difficult. But as you can see, we got one thruster down there. We've just got to get on to the next one. That is the hardest part with these dudes, just locking onto those thrusters. Oh. Let's try that. I don't think that's on the thruster enough, but it might work. There we go. There's one on the thruster. Taking down the 4 thrusters, and then a couple of shots into the main eye and the camera is normally the easiest way to get these guys down. But when you're using some of those bigger, overpowered weapons, it can be quite hard to aim, especially with some of the higher end guys, because they are just beastie. And yeah, they're a little bit tough sometimes. A downside as well is if you do die and have to self-res, you will lose your targeting lock. There we go. Bish bash bosh. That was easy. It took a minute and a half to take that guy down. And normally, it'll probably take 2 to 3 minutes. Purely because, obviously, you're constantly having to aim, constantly having to lock on. And it just makes the process a little bit long-winded. Especially because they move so quick. They're up in the sky. They don't mess around. So what do you guys think? Am I right? Is the HP5 one of the most overpowered weapons in Generation 0? Or is it something else? Let me know in the comments down below your favourite or what you think is the most overpowered weapon in GZ. Thank you for watching, and we'll be back soon with some of the last Generation 0 content that we'll be doing. But now, though, I've been Wide, you've been awesome, thanks for watching, and we'll see you very soon with some more.